On a daily basis, people are constantly waiting in lines. Americans spend about 37 billion hours waiting in line every year. Some lines are necessities like the grocery store, gas stations, the bank, and the DMV. Some lines are because you want something like a department store or a restaurant. Then there are lines that people choose to wait in, like for movies, a club, an amusement park, a pop-up shop, for a newly released item, or for a concert. Nowadays, forming a line seems like a natural thing that people do. But the first historical description of the line wasn't until 1837 in Thomas Carlyle's The French Revolution. There he talks about the strange sight of people in Paris standing in line to buy bread from bakers. Different countries have different forms of line etiquette. In England and Japan, people stand in single file lines. In Egypt, it is not uncommon for one family member to stand in line until they get to the front, and then the rest of the family will come up. In Italy, people don't really stand in line. Instead, they gather in a group, and when you find your moment, you are next. In Nepal, India, and Venezuela, the majority of the population will cut in front of you if you leave more than half a meter's distance between you and the person in front of you. In the United States, there's not the most orderly lines, but if someone cuts in line, they most likely will be confronted by the people that they cut. Most people hate waiting in lines. They find it boring and they get more and more annoyed and impatient the longer they have to wait. Now, because of the internet and how technology has improved, there are ways that people can avoid lines. At grocery stores, they now have self-checkout where you can scan and bag your groceries yourself rather than wait in line for a worker to do it. ATMs now make banking faster to where you don't even have to go into a bank. In the past, people waited in lines to buy tickets for shows. Now you can go online and you get put into a virtual line to buy tickets. A lot of fast food restaurants have apps where you can order your food ahead of time and either pick it up yourself or get it delivered. They even have apps like TaskRabbit where you can pay someone to stand in line for you. But even though they have these things, there are still people who will stand in lines themselves. People will spend hours, some even days, waiting in line for something that they either really want or something that they are a huge fan of. I am one of those people who will willingly wait in line for hours to get as close as I can for a show or a concert that I love. The longest that I've waited in line for something is about 12 hours. I will wait in line for things like television tapings, premieres, and concerts. I do not do this for every show I go to, but depending on what the show is, or if I know others will do the same, I will get in line early for something that I am a huge fan of. Not only do I enjoy getting as close as I can once I get into the show, but I feel like it enhances the experience when you're in the line. It also makes the show more memorable. The other people waiting in line are also big fans of whatever you're waiting for. This makes it easy to meet and talk to them because you have that thing in common. I've been able to do some cool things not only because I was in line early, but because I've gone to many shows at certain venues, seen the same band multiple times, and I've been to certain tapings for the same show multiple times. Because I've done this, I have an idea about where to go when I get inside the show. I've gotten to meet band members and actors, and I even have been on TV a couple of times.
Here with the pieces, you can see in there. Love your shirt, by the way. Gift? Yeah, gift. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. And then here's a welder's helmet for you there. You probably can't see anything there, so let's lift that up so that you don't run into the wall on your way. Thank you so much for being here. It was good to see you. Thank you.
The best thing that happened to me, because I was in line early, happened at a New Politics concert at the San Diego House of Blues. New Politics is one of my favorite bands, and I've seen them like 8 times. My sister and I were there like 3 hours early for the show, and we were probably like 15th in line. The line to get in was near the band's tour bus, so when the band members walked by, I got pictures with them. I noticed that the band was getting interviewed and were standing outside of their bus with instruments. Eventually, someone walked down the line and said that the band was going to perform a couple of songs on the trolley that runs through there, and that all we had to do was buy a ticket. Immediately, I left my sister in line and went to buy that ticket. The performance was taped for an internet show called The Red Trolley Show. There was only about 8 people from the line who got on the trolley. I made sure to get a seat right next to the band. They performed 2 songs before the trolley brought us back to where we started.
Go, 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 hey! Go, 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 hey! Go, 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 hey! Go, 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 hey! I spend my money on the regular miracles just like you, like me, like everybody else upon the sun, looking sad and beautiful just like you, like me, like everybody else.
couple hours later, we were let into the House of Blues and got to enjoy the concert. I had a meet and greet after the show, and because I was on that trolley, the band and I had something to talk about. The trolley was probably one of the coolest musical experiences I've ever been a part of, and it would not have happened if I wasn't in that line early. I have met and talked to several people at different shows that I've been to. Some go to shows once in a while, and some go frequently. I've met people who have waited hours before a show, some that have waited days. I wanted to know why they were willing to wait for hours in line and what makes them continue to do it, and find out if they believe that it is truly worth their time.
I usually do it for concerts. I've done it for a couple of tapings.
I used to do concerts years ago in my younger days, but now it's mostly for audiences.
Normally we go for concerts or movies. We've gone for Comedy Central stuff before, things like that.
Like movie screenings.
Do you do this for, do you go early for like concerts and stuff too?
Yes. I'm going to see 21 Pilots on November 10th. I will be there at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And I live down the street from the Forum. And I'm still going early.
I used to go to a lot of shows in high school.
I used to do concerts. I do mostly, I do like Black Friday at Best Buy every year. I do shows like this and what other shows? The Voice. I used to do America's Best Dance Crew. And like Comic Cons, I go really early to try to get in first to, go where you need to go and everything. It gets crazy sometimes.
The longest I've waited is 18 hours, and that would be for U2, David Beckham, and Coldplay.
As far as like not too long, but like Comic Con or shows kind of things. Comic Con, like the night, like right after the first day's over, like the con will close like at 7 or 8. We get back in line again for like the next days. Just used to it. Some people think we're crazy, but
It's 21 Pilots, and I waited in line for them for 2 whole days. Yeah.
Probably around 15, 18 hours. That would be Comic-Con. We got there at 5:30 in the morning for Hall H to get in line for Hall H tickets.
like for more than a day, Best Buy, like I've waited almost the whole week.
Oh my gosh.
Like
for Black Friday?
Yeah. I got like a bunch of TVs.
So like you slept on the floor and everything?
We were allowed to have tents.
Oh
so
my
we had
God.
like legit tents and like we had the propane like heaters and everything like that. There was one time we were actually on the news because it went to like 17 degrees and the news came over and like interviewed us like, are you guys crazy? Like there was ice on our tents. And
Twilight. I camped out 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Twilight was my first real dive into camping out for stuff. Paramore did a concert at Hollywood and Highland. I waited on Halloween night, all night for that to get wristbands.
Cool.
Done a few things. I did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. We waited about 4 hours for that, and then that was good though because I got to meet Matt Smith, which was awesome.
Oh.
But I'm in my 30s, so I ain't gonna stop anytime soon.
So,
Twilight's what, 10 years old?
Yeah.
I'm still doing it. I did Divergent. I did the Lego Ninjago movie. I won tickets for that. We got there at 6 in the morning. I got to meet Jackie Chan. It was amazing.
I like absolutely nothing about. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not that I like standing in line, but I don't dislike standing in line.
Yes.
For me, standing in line at a concert enables me to meet people with familiar interests that share the same passion. I've made everlasting friends in the queues. I find it fascinating to talk to new people, meet new people, and build friendships.
We kind of have the same likes. We like the same things, so we kind of see the same people, and we're the only crazy ones that actually have nothing to do other than this. So if I get tickets, I'm coming.
The people you wait with, I mean, the only other people crazy enough to come to a show and wait outside all day are going to also be huge fans of this band. So you connect on that. And then you also usually find other interests. And then that's how I've made so many of my closest friends. Even if we start off the day as strangers, by the end of the show, we're really good friends. And I've kept in contact with a lot of them.
To get a good seat, to be able to see well, and I just love being at celebrity events.
You get in there first before the restroom forms a line.
For a show, you want to get the best seats you can, so you want to come early, especially with this one. The ground is level, like it doesn't go like incline. So
Yes.
if you're like 3-4 rows back, you basically, and I'm short. I'm 5'5", so like sometimes if I'm in the very back, I'll just try and like stand up and watch, because I really can't see anything. You might as well just look up and watch the TV and stuff.
Really only do it if it's a band that I love, a band that I know the music, I know the songs, I want to have this experience, I want to be up front. Because if it's not, then I'll just show up later and have fun in like the middle of the crowd or the back of the crowd or something if I just want to enjoy it, but I'm not super into them. I don't do much. It's a lot of just sitting and waiting. And a lot of boredom.
Nothing. Just daydream. Sometimes I go on my phone, but then like I don't have my backup, my external battery, so like I'll just check it every now and then and stuff, and just talk to people in line, walk around, go in the shade, borrow people's umbrellas. It's fun.
Just chill, on my phone or something.
Usually we'll catch up with my friends in line, or I'll be on my phone looking at stuff about tonight's episode or other Walking Dead things or whatever I'm here for. Chatting with my son, who usually comes with me. Sometimes we'll play games on the phone, or we'll go get food and chat, but it passes. Or watching people. I love people watching, so that's a big one too.
Play games, read books, just sit here.
One time, a friend brought a Monopoly board game to the show, and we played Monopoly for hours before the show started.
On my phone, I look at Twitter, or listen to music, or if someone asks me questions, I just socialize, I guess.
It's just, you gotta wait a while, but then you do meet people in line that, you guys all have similar interests, so it doesn't really get boring. Like I could talk to the person next to me over here, talk to the person next to me over there, because talk about the show compared to sometimes your friends don't watch the same thing, so you have no one to talk to. Here, everyone, like for this, everyone likes Walking Dead. So we can, have lots to talk about and just, have stuff to do, like on the phone, or if you're with your friend. My friend's coming later, so for now, just by myself, but you get used to it.
And maybe you walk to the Starbucks, or you walk around the venue. But other than that, no, not much. You're kind of just sitting there.
I do not like lines.
It was really cold. It was actually a bad experience. I was freezing.
I don't like standing.
It's a lot to just sleep outside on the concrete for 2 whole days.
I complain the entire time that we're there until we're in the venue having fun.
Just a lot of waiting, but if it all pays off.
So Fall Out Boy is my favorite band. It's Fall Out Boy above everything else. But so I'm living in New York right now, and they played Good Morning America back in July. So me and a friend were like, we have to go to this. We can't miss this. So I skipped work for the day, and we got to Central Park at 4 in the morning. Yeah, the tickets were through 1 iota, so we didn't have priority, we just had general. So all the people that had priority got in before us, and then it was us. So we were sad that we weren't going to be barricade, because we were like, we want to be as close to them as possible, even if they're going to play like 6 or 7 songs. We want to be there. So we found a barricade like in the middle, where we could have a little space to like jump around and everything. We were like, the band might walk through here, and then we could be really close to them, So we were there, and then while we're waiting, a guy walks by and he's like, who here is a really big Fall Out Boy fan? And I'm like, it's my time to shine. I am. So he turns around and he's like, oh yeah, would you be willing to do stuff for social media? And I was like, yeah, me and my friend would love to. Granted, my friend had said nothing up to this point. I just volunteered her. And he was like, great, I'll come back in 10 minutes. It was really cool. You know, we just expected him to, like, put it on, like, Good Morning America's Instagram of, like, us jumping around or something like that, you know. But he comes back and he's like, so, we need 2 people to be in the costumes. And we said yes. They are just, like, llama costumes. And so we got to wear them, and it was really hot outside, of course. But they're, like, padded bodysuits, and then a head. But the head doesn't start till, like, here, and then go up. So, like, from here, it's just, like, fur, and they put 2 little eye holes, but it's impossible to see out of because it's covered with fur because it's supposed to be a llama. I can say I dressed up as a llama for Fall Out Boy on Good Morning America. And it wouldn't have happened if we had gotten there later, the show, because if we gotten there later, we wouldn't have been in that spot and we wouldn't have been able to volunteer. So it was 100% worth it for me. Even though we probably weren't the greatest llamas they had, I mean, I was kind of a mess. I almost ran the band over because I didn't know they were right in front of me, and they stopped and I didn't stop because I couldn't see. So, like, people had to grab me and, like, move me to the side. But it was so much fun, and I loved it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
One of the best ever in my life. I was at the O2 Arena in London. First time I'd ever gone there to see Coldplay in December. And I didn't know how, that was my first time I'd ever been to London. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that it was so cold. And I just had like a jacket.
Oh.
I had gloves, but that was it. I didn't realize how fucking cold it was. And we were the 7th, there's 4 of us. We were like the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th person. There's 5 people ahead of us. So we were 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it was freezing, and I mean freezing. I was trembling, like I almost had to give up. It was around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I started like giving out. I mean, I couldn't take the cold anymore. I was, you know, I'm from California. California. I was trembling.
Yeah.
I mean, I was unprepared. Talk about preparation. I was unprepared because I didn't know how cold it was, and where we had to wait in the queue was kind of like through a wind tunnel area.
Ooh.
On the cement. In the O2 Arena is a shopping area, so we decided to go get some coffee or hot chocolate or something because I was like, you guys, it was 8 hours into it. And it was 2 o'clock. It was 8 hours, and I was like, almost, I can't do it. I can't stand here anymore. I can't do this. You know, I'm miserable, like miserable. So we went to go get, you know, something from this little coffee shop, hot chocolate or whatever. And we sat at the little table and talked for a while, and then we said, okay, well, let's go back in the queue. Within 2 minutes after we got back into the queue, which means if we would have sat at that coffee shop for 3 minutes longer or 4 minutes longer, 2 minutes after we got back in the queue, this man comes out and says, the first 15 people are coming with me. And we looked at each other, we're like, oh my God, what's happening? And it was Jason Riegler, which invented the Xylo bands.
Oh.
I don't know if you know what Xylo bands are.
Yeah.
We got to go backstage. The band didn't come out, which they should have, I think, because we worked for 4 hours activating 35,000 Xylo bands. The reward, we got an 8x10 glossy picture, and we all gave him our email addresses, and he said he would send us something, or gave us our physical addresses too, but he never sent us anything for working, you know, because we worked for 4 hours, but we got to be out of the freezing cold. Even though it was cold and where we were, it wasn't frigid. So, and then our reward too was when the gates opened at 5 or 5:30, whatever time it was, they gave us 5 minutes. So if it was like 5 minutes to 5 or 5:25, I think they opened at 5:30. So at 5:25, they let us 15 people go in with nobody, or, you know, we had a free reign to stand wherever we wanted to stand.
That's cool.
And there were no, you know, massive people running. And that was a perk.
Yeah,
so we had 5 minutes. We didn't have to fight anybody to the barrier. There's 15 of us. We had free reign. It's like, where do you want to go? We don't have to worry about it. And we got to stand there, and, you know, then they opened the gates, and then people came, you know, pouring in, running for their lives.
When I was in line, let's see, Comic-Con, we were waiting in line for Conan, and he actually came out and started like just talking started from the back, so you didn't know it was him. Just started talking, asking questions, so people are answering, and they turn around and be like, you're Conan. So he's just out there talking to people, and then before like it gets too crazy, like everyone starts to see him, he'll like run back inside and stuff like that. That has happened a couple times at Comic-Con.
That's cool.
My was when we went to a VMA performance for, I think it was like 1,000, to see Chester Bennington sing with Linkin Park, and we were pushed right on the stage with him. So it was really cool because he like screamed in our face, and we totally went nuts because we were teenagers having a great time.
I've seen like the performers pass by, and I'm like, oh my god.
One time, the Wonder Years, they were doing their tour, and I went to that show in Boston. It was a couple years ago, but it was snowing outside, and no one else was in line. It was just me who got there early, but then once I get there, I can't leave because I convinced myself that a bunch of other people are going to show up. So, the band took pity on me, and they brought me coffee. They brought me like 3 separate coffees because they were like, "It's so cold. What are you doing out here?" And I was like, I really want to be in the front. And they were like, "Yeah, you will be." And I was, because no one else got there till 3 in the afternoon, and I got there at 8 in the morning. But, I mean, they were really nice. They kept bringing me coffee. They kept checking on me because they were really worried.
Well, for one of the Fear talkings, I got here so early to get here first in line. They were letting in for the Superfan event, which was the season premiere of season 9, episode 1, and they had extra seats. So when Ryan let us in, so that was one perk.
Twilight. Every actor walked into our tent city and signed our tents. My mom actually went to me with that in the beginning, but I slept in downtown LA for 3 days. That was kind of the craziest thing. My favorite event, like moments from all the premieres I've ever done, I think Kobe Bryant showed up to Twilight, which was amazing, and Jason Momoa showed up to Divergent, which was so unexpected because you're like, okay, we're done, and then you see Khal Drogo, and I'm like, it was like icing on top of my cupcake with the cherry and the nuts. Yeah, that was good.
Preparation for the queue is very important because you get hungry, you get weak, it can be extremely hot. You need to prepare with sunblock, you need to prepare with umbrellas. I buy $1, I go to the dollar store and buy, you get what you pay for, so they're cheap, but I can chuck it if I need to.
You have to have a plan. Like, you can't just come and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be here for 5 hours and not have a plan.
Check the weather. Seriously. Check the weather. There have been times, I know I was waiting for the pop-up shop for Fall Out Boy in LA last year, and I didn't check the weather, and the weather said rain. And I didn't bring an umbrella. I brought a sleeping bag, and that's it. It wasn't fun. Check the weather.
Layer your clothes. Sometimes in the early morning it's freezing and then it gets hot, so you want to make sure you're well prepared. Layer your clothes, gloves, depends where you live.
Bring lots of food and water. Seriously, food and water. That's usually where I encounter my problems, is if I don't eat or drink enough before the show. Then you don't feel good, and the last thing you want is to have waited outside all day and then have to be pulled off barricade because you're about to pass out. And stuff like, which has happened to me. So, from someone who's had that happen, drink water, eat food. It's important. Just do it. Just bring more snacks than you need.
I need to like make sure I don't drink too much, because then like I don't even know where the closest bathroom, probably over there. That's the biggest thing. It's like when you get into a line, you have to know where the bathroom is. You have to know, just in case you're hungry, where to go.
The night before, I prepare myself with an igloo, refreshments, non-alcoholic, to hydrate myself, because the last thing you want to do is drink alcohol.
And then you miss the whole concert.
You do not want to drink alcohol. I've seen a lot of bad things happen and just stupid things. And in my younger years, I did. It was just the way it was. And I don't do that now. Music is my high. I don't need alcohol or anything else.
Yep.
Like I did when I was young.
Like a small drawstring bag for like while you're in the show, perfect. Because usually like venues you can't bring in backpacks or like bigger bags or something. Or if you like a small purse or even really like a fanny pack. Like, okay, yeah, they don't look great, but like, who cares?
A purse, a small purse. You know, like Jimmy Kimmel, you can only bring in that certain size. I have a Jimmy Kimmel purse.
Yep, I do too.
I have a certain purse I have for Jimmy Kimmel. You know,
I have a concert purse where I can adjust the strap so I wear it almost like a fanny pack while I'm like in the show.
I have a little tiny wallet that I put in my zipper pouch with my ID, and so I don't lose that.
Have your phone charged, have a good friend to wait in line with, and try to have a good time.
Bring portable phone chargers. Yeah. Usually when I go to shows, because I'm really scared about my phone dying, just for like being able to contact people and like getting home safe and everything like that, I have a phone case that's also a phone charger, and I usually bring either like 2 or 3 portable chargers with me.
Bring games, bring water, shade, a chair, and people you like.
I brought a chair to like one show while waiting in line, and it changed my life. Like, bring a chair. Like, even if it's a really, really horrible quality, like, folding chair, it's much nicer than just sitting on the ground. Like, bring towels, bring blankets. It's much easier when you, like, have a car, and then you can just shove everything in there. But, like, you're going to be sitting outside for hours and stuff like that. So, do that.
Things never leave home without a Sharpie, because you never know who you're going to run into.
Stay hydrated. I've gone to the medic tent a lot. It's not fun. You don't want that. Drink water. Don't pass out. And going that eating, don't pass out. Drink and eat.
People don't stand in line early for a show only because they want to get as close as possible. That is a big part of it, but people also go for the experience. Standing in line can be boring and tiresome, but it can also be lots of fun. It's always cool to meet and talk to new people. You meet different kinds of people of different ages and ethnicities, and sometimes they're from the same area as you, and sometimes they're from a different country. It's also fun to just be outside rather than watching TV or whatever. Usually the venue or studio is just out on the street, so you can see interesting things and people who go by. Then because you spent the hours waiting in line, once you get in and find your spot, you just feel accomplished, and you feel like you earned your place, and it makes the show that much better.